You are watching Pausing with Erik. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 276, second year of pausing. Today is the second year mark, the 2-year mark of pausing. So today, December 13th, 2 years ago, in 2023, the first episode of this show was recorded. And today we are on episode 276. So in today's episode we will pause and sort of reflect a bit upon how this second year of pausing has been, and how this second year has perhaps been different from the first year, and maybe a little bit about some thoughts about the next year, the third year of pausing. This is the wood cube of today's episode. LAGOM. LAGOM is a Swedish term from, I think it is from Middle Ages, perhaps even older than that, from old pagan times, maybe, perhaps even. And lagom literally translates as lag om, the whole team around. The team around. So I think it is from this sort of metaphor that if you have a team or a family or a group and you are all drinking from the same cup, then each member of the group is drinking just enough so that the cup will be enough for the whole team around. The whole lagom. So lagom means it's making this sort of balancing act when it's not too much, not too little, but just right. When making that calibration of what's just the right amount. That's lagom. Lagom is a long-term skill, so it's a skill that is useful for making long-term plans when thinking about our future, and when building something we want to last for a long time, then lagom is good. This is the image for lagom. It's a tortoise. So we have here used the image of the old Greek fable, the hare and the tortoise, when the hare is rushing ahead and making a lot of mistakes on the way, but the tortoise is sort of advancing steadily, surely but steadily, and slowly but surely. So the tortoise actually wins the race because he's doing it in a lagom way. We pause and, if possible, choose the option that is not too much, but not too little either. Lagom is how we advance steadily, like the tortoise. So this is a nice one. And it's almost like a philosophy, a way of doing things. And this second year of pausing, this has been one key philosophy behind how I have chosen to proceed and develop pausing. I want to do it in a lagom kind of way. This year, 2025, I think many of us will agree that much of the changes going on right now are anything but lagom. They are quite extreme in different directions. So like this, lagom, when pausing is made in a lagom way, not too much but not too little either. It creates a healthy counterweight to these times. These times, this past year has been one thing that has stood out, some extra, this year is that a lot of new infrastructure is being rolled out. A lot of new high technological infrastructure is being rolled out. The sort of collective threats that we're talking about is in large part about technology and infrastructure. And as a lot of this new infrastructure has been rolled out, like the hare from the Greek fable, a lot of careless mistakes are being made right now. A lot of experimentation, perhaps in part necessary, but still there's a lot of rapid change going on here and there, and a lot of careless mistakes being made. And pausing this year has been, I feel, good and refreshing counterweight to this sort of high-paced, reckless developments. And most often it's called progress, but I think it's more accurate to call it just change. There's a lot of change going on right now. Sometimes it feels like progress, sometimes it feels like regression. Pausing this second year has meant that the content being made by me has developed. Last year, the first year of pausing, pausing was basically me sitting with a microphone and doing this sort of podcast-like show. So the first year was, my voice talking about different subjects being relevant to pause with. In this second year, you're now seeing me, video. I have this set. I have my coffee cup. Me and my partner, me and my fiancée, has made these sort of wood cubes to sort of make pausing easier to learn, to use them as a sort of tool. So pausing is not only listening to my voice, but also seeing these cubes, this sort of visual aid, and also, for me at least, being able to touch them, being a physical aid as well, in making it easier to pause, because having this reassuring wood cube to sort of hold on to has been very nice in these stressful times. Also this year I have written and recorded the first book written on pausing. So you can find a playlist here. Where I am reading the first book on pausing out loud. And in this first book, I give some introduction to the concept of pausing, what it's about. And I sort of give the general framework of pausing, that we learn to identify these 5 typical situations that follow us all throughout life. And when we have these 5 sort of types of situations that we can recognize and identify, then it gets a whole lot easier to pause. When we do not have any classification at all, not any typology at all about what kind of situations we find ourselves in, pausing gets a lot more difficult to apply practically. So this first book that you can watch here on the playlist of the book, it helps with learning to identify these situations so that you can apply and start pausing straight away. I have also just finished writing actually 2 more books about the same length as the first book. And these 2 additional books I will record as well and make playlists out of. And in these 2 additional books that will come next year, we will sort of take it one step further and use pausing to analyze 2 very important parts of life. 2 parts that we cannot live without. So the first or the second book I should say. The second book is about pausing and money. To pause with money. What is money? What really is money when we pause and think about it? And then the second book, or the third I should say, the third book is about pausing with institutions. These sort of ways in which we people organize ourselves in these groups or these congregations. And we will look at the sort of significance of institutions in our life. So that will come next year. Money and institutions. So jointly, these three books, pausing and money, and pausing and institutions, will form, I think, a meaningful trilogy of books. In the first book, perhaps we might reflect about our lives in a general sense and learn about pausing and the situations. In the second, about money and resources. And in the third, about institutions and how we people group socially, how we sort of cooperate socially. So together they form a meaningful, not full picture, but more extensive picture, very useful picture. At least that is my ambition, my LAGOM ambition. What to say in conclusion about this year? This year has been challenging. There's been so much change going on. At the beginning of each episode we say, how do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? That is our reality right now. A lot is changing. It seems like most of society is acting like the hare in the fable, not the tortoise. And sometimes it's difficult for us to be like the tortoise. Often we find ourselves sort of being forced to be the hare, whether we like it or not. So that has been challenging this year. Very difficult to be the tortoise, even though we like being the tortoise. Maybe would have preferred to be like the tortoise, but still the circumstances sort of give us little option but being the hare. It says here, we pause and, if possible, choose the LAGOM option, implying that sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes we must be the hare. Sometimes we must run. And that's a tough one, but still our reality. So I hope, I wish for this next year, the third year of pausing, to be a bit more naturally like the tortoise. But I will prepare as if this next year will also be like a year of running, of being the hare. It looks like it will not slow down. It looks like it might even speed up even more, at least on an emotional level. So I guess we will keep doing the same. We will pause and see what is and is not possible to do this next year. All of this pausing and everything we do here is meant to be as realistic as possible. Trying at least to minimize pretensions about what life is and is not. That is at least my ambition, to keep it as realistic as possible. And to find some sense of comfort or reassurance in at least trying to look at life as realistically as possible. So we will keep doing that the next year. And it will be, I think, both scary and exciting to see how pausing will change this next year. So this year, video, cubes, books, and whatnot. And the next year, some more books, and I don't know what else. So we will see what feels natural to do in this coming year. Might change, might stay the same. I don't know. But I want to try to keep it lagom as much as possible. That's it for today and for this year. Thank you.